Hello and welcome students. In our last lecture, we discussed and categorized the types and kinds of states. We covered the sovereign states, and in our next category, we will discuss today the not fully sovereign states. So, what is not fully sovereign states? So, they are not the fully sovereign states, but they can be stated as a partly sovereign states, that is, the independent states. So, it is not necessary that a state should be sovereign in order to be an international person. Thus, if the attributes of statehood are possessed by the states other than sovereign states, even of the smallest degree, they may be deemed international person. That is, what is meant by a sovereign state we understood in our last lecture. So it can be a capacity to enter into relationship with other states. It can be a having a territory, having a defined population, okay, and having the independence, okay. If even if all the attributes of statehood are possessed by the states, they can't be said as they are totally sovereigns. So let us discuss what are they, what are the kinds of such non fully sovereign states. Okay, the first one is the protectorate state. So as per Fanwick, he defined the term protectorate as a state which by formal treaty placed itself under the protection of a stronger state, surrendering to the latter control over its foreign relations, while retaining a large measure of control over its domestic government. So it is surrendering some powers to the stronger state and retaining large measures of control over its domestic government. Treaty of protection need not be between the two states, that is the protecting state and the protected state, but it can also be created under an international treaty between a protected state and maybe more than one protecting state. That is, a protected state can approach and have a treaty with more than one protecting or stronger state to protect it. Protected states are not sovereign states, that is what they are, not fully sovereign states. However, they are prima facie independent and the possessor of all rights which they have not surrendered. So they retain some rights and powers with them. They won't surrender the whole powers and rights to the protecting states. They are therefore international persons and subjects of international law, unless it is a colonial protectorate. That is, what is a colonial protectorate? We know it as we most of the countries in the world were under the British rule and they were called the colonies. They were not independent states. So those colonies are not international persons and are not subject of international law. But we do not have such colonies in today's world. Okay, that was protectorate state. Let's understand what is vassal state. It may seem similar to protectorate, but we will discuss the difference also after this definition and understanding of vassal state. So, okay, a vassal state is one which is completely under the suzerainty of another state. Whereas in the protector state, it was not completely suzerainty. It was a treaty to protect it from other state by other states. Again, a vassal state do not have capacity to enter into relationship with other states, since the suzerain absorbs these relations entirely. That is, the suzerain absorbs the power of having relationship with other foreign states. Vassal states may be listed in the category of not fully sovereign states. That is what they are, not fully sovereign states in the view of their internal independence on the suzerain states. They are interdependent on suzerain states internally as well. Thus, all international treaties concluded by the suzerain state are ipso facto concluded for the vassal state. So, all the international treaties are concluded by the suzerain states, but are also ipso facto concluded for vassal state. If exception is not expressly mentioned or is not self-evident, that has an exception if they have expressly mentioned that they are not going to be these treaties are not going to be concluded by the suzerain states, are not ipso facto concluded for the vassal state, then it is not. And if it is not mentioned, then it is by default ipso facto concluded for vassal state. Okay, war of suzerain state is ipso facto a war of the vassal state. Within certain limits, the suzerain state also bears a responsibility for the actions of the vassal state. Here, the suzerain, the powerful state, has to bear a responsibility for whatever the actions of vassal state impacts on other states or the whole world. So let us understand what is the difference between both this protectorate and vassal state. On the grounds of dependence, under protectorate state, a superior state protects the weak state as per the terms of the treaty, whereas in a vassal state, suzerain power absorbs foreign relations entirely. On the grounds of war, if declared by protecting state, then the protected state does not ipso facto become a party to that war, whereas in a vassal state, if war is declared by suzerain state, war of the suzerain state is ipso facto war of the vassal state. Okay, on the grounds of treaty binding, treaty concluded by the protector state is not ipso facto binding on the protected state, whereas in a vassal state, all international treaties concluded by the suzerain state are ipso facto concluded for the vassal state. In regards to membership to United Nations and international organizations, this protectorate state may become a member of United Nations and international organizations, whereas a vassal state does not have capacity to be a member of international organizations or to establish relationship with other states. So this was about protectorate and vassal state under the not fully sovereign states. So in our next lecture we will proceed with the further not fully sovereign states. Thank you.